Hey, what's up guys, it's LEGO Hobo 910 here with another LEGO video, and in this video I'm reviewing set number 75946, the Hungarian Horntail Triwizard Challenge from the summer wave here of Harry Potter sets, which features on the third and fourth movie, this one being from Goblet of Fire. So let's get right into it by looking at the main build here of the Hungarian Horntail. So here is the Hungarian Horntail, which the set is named after, and is kind of, the main build and main attraction of the set. First, though, we're going to start by looking at this little side build here, which has the chain that connects just on his neck. You just pop it on there instead of, like, having it connect in some fancy way. If you really want, though, you could wrap it around before connecting it to make it look like, he's actually chained on there slightly more believably. Maybe even do that, but then you start running out of chain. So yeah, then that just can pop off of there, and we'll move him aside for a second. And then we have this little side build. It's fairly simple. It's just, a small tan plate with some rock work on it, and then a few flames, make it look like he breathed fire in that direction recently with the light gray chain coming off of it. And the coolest part is, of course, the golden egg, which Harry has to grab. Just one of the egg pieces originally introduced in the Angry Birds line. That was originally made in white and has now been made in lots of other colors. I believe a light bluish gray, also maybe pink and a blue. And then I think one that was white with some printing. This is the first time we've gotten it in gold, and it looks really cool, especially when you actually put it in a minifigure's hand or have it attached to something properly. And yeah, that just looks great. It's a very simple side build, but it really, kind of completes the scene. Otherwise, you just, have the egg just laying around somewhere like that. So just having, something simple like a little tiny stand for it here is pretty cool. So now that we've got that out of the way, we can look at the actual dragon itself. So it's not too big of a build. It is fairly large, not crazy large though, like some of the, molded dragons we've seen, some of the castle ones and whatnot. Here it is in comparison for a minifigure. So you can see it is pretty big. It's not as big as the original Hungarian Horntail, kind of large molded one, and I'm glad that this time they didn't go for the route of it just being a large molded dragon. I actually had to build it up, which I think makes it more interesting as well as makes it fit in with everything better, considering so far the Harry Potter line really doesn't have any large molded animals other than, thestrals and whatnot, and things of that size, small kind of horse things. It doesn't have, any huge molded animals. I think this really helps it fit in with the rest, as well as makes the set more interesting, as the old one was just, one large molded thing, which would take you a second to put together in small stands. It definitely makes the set more interesting having to build the main thing in the set. I think it could definitely be a bit bigger. It is a bit scaled down, but that's, pretty normal for LEGO sets. They don't make them exactly the right size most of the time because they'll also be huge most of the time. Especially looking at Star Wars, a lot of the ships they have to scale down a lot. I think they could have gone a bit bigger with this, but then it would have also raised the price $5 to $10, maybe even, if they wanted it as big as it had to be accurate, maybe like 20 or 30. I think a $30 price for the set is already a bit pricey for the piece count, and I don't know, if they were to make it bigger, they'd have to raise the price a lot, so I'm perfectly satisfied with this. It's fairly posable. The legs can move in and out as well as back and forth, and then each of the toes are individually posable, so, you can kind of get them in a flying position like that. And they're just on the large click hinges here. And something that I like about the choice of the toe pieces here with these robot arms is, as you can see, they just kind of settle naturally into place when you push them back. These ones, not as much, though you can, just push them all the way back, and that's about the ideal spot where you want it to sit, or to sit properly. It also then has these two little spikes along the legs. Not too huge of a fan of the legs. I think they're a bit thick. I wish they would have maybe made them a bit thinner, but then they wouldn't have had room to put on all the toes. And also, it's a bit blocky. I'd say the legs are probably my least favorite part of the whole build. The tail, however, is pretty cool. Just some kind of repeating sections on ball joints allows for a lot of posability, kind of what you expect from, a long tail build type thing like this. Then the end being super spiky, for just these small spikes, and it comes with a lot of these in this set. I definitely could have done with more of them, especially along kind of the body area. even though it already has lots and lots of them in the set. Then it also has this large spike. There is the only sticker on the dragon. There are a few on the other side build that we'll get to in a second. This is the only one on the main build of the set. This has a fairly small sticker sheet with only 4 total, and this one being the largest of them, and it's already a fairly small sticker. So I'm glad that they didn't get too much of the detail with stickers. Like along the back, they just built up some spikes with cheese slopes. Once again, I wish they would have actually used the spike piece, just because it looks better, you know, just like put some jumpers and then had 3 spikes coming up. Either that or just put them in the same place, just with actual spikes. The neck is pretty posable as well, having, you know, one down at the base and then another ball joint up at the head. And the head is where I've seen the most complaint for this build. I originally didn't like it when I saw it and also when I built it, but it started to grow on me. They just use kind of this bird head piece and then also beak piece, which kind of work in a pair. And I don't think it's the right shape for the Hungarian Horntail. Like, the general shaping is pretty accurate, but, like, there should be more spikes on it. Instead of having to print all those, it should be sharper and spikier, and also it just feels a bit too bird-like, especially near the tip. And they even kind of did that with some of the printing there, like that spike feels slightly bird-like. If you look at the creature, it's accurate, that spike shape, but because it's on the bird-like head, it feels pretty bird-like, which isn't good because it doesn't really look like that. And then same with the lower jaw. I think the main problem with it is the fact that there aren't lots of teeth, which makes it feel a bit less dragon-like. But then they also have this little flame in here, which can be, you know, rotated like this, and then also spun back and forth, and that's just connected in there simply enough on that. You really can't close the mouth with the flame in there, and then even with it out, you really can't unless you remove that gray piece, which is really hard to remove or even turn to the side. Pretty sure if you like turn it to the side a little bit, you could get one notch of the mouth closing. But yeah, basically you're always going to put the flame in here so you can keep the mouth, you know, open and having a reason for it to be open instead of just hanging awkwardly open. Then you use these large wing pieces, which I think is a good choice. These are usually used on large molded dragons, and most of the time the wings feel kind of small. Here they feel very big and, you know, accurately big. So I think that's a really cool look, especially with the dark brown and then kind of fading out into the smoke gray or trans black. It looks really cool. You know, it's the color gradient. And along the bottom of the wings, they also have a spike on each one. The bottom of the body doesn't look too bad either. The fact that they, you know, smoothed it out and put inverse tiles on it definitely helps. And when they make flying creatures, most time with a lot of vehicles and stuff, the bottom really doesn't need to look that nice. With flying creatures, that's one of the things I expect. You know, that the bottom looks good. Same with flying vehicles. And they did a great job here. There are a few exposed anti-studs, but that's really not a complaint. I'm fine with all of that. So, overall, I think he's pretty cool. You know, can bring the wings all the way up that high, and then also they can go down pretty low if you just move the legs out of the way. Most of the time, I just keep them like a notch or two up from flat. But yeah, I think this is a very cool looking dragon build. Now let's move on to some of the other builds. So here is just kind of this little side build of like the tent where the Triwizard champions were before the actual challenge. Obviously very miniaturized, you know, that had room for like about 10 people to fit in there very comfortably. Lots of beds, lots of space everywhere. This is just a very small little rendition. I'm perfectly fine with it. Just kind of hinges open like this, so you can access the spaces more. On the left, we have a little bed here, which you can just set a minifigure in. I like the build for the bed. It's very simplistic and fits in very well. It's still looking like what it's supposed to. So yeah, you can just, you know, set a minifigure in there and have them be laying in the bed. There's then 2 little stickers in there for the Durmstrang and Bobatten's logo. Just go on this large panel. Then over here there's also the Hogwarts crest. And I can see a lot of people using these stickers for all sorts of things. They're very useful. And then on the left we have kind of like a little dresser build here with then some bottle of something on top. And then just a little table with some goblets. It's a really short table, you know, being only 1 brick tall. So minor complaint, but I'm glad they at least included something, when you fold it up, it's by the end of the bed, so you can kind of pretend that it's a nightstand, and then it justifies it being low. It's a little bit of rock work and stuff out the side here, nothing crazy and complex. I feel like this looks a little bit unfinished, just having that random stuff there. Like, they should have at least put a cheese slope or something. But that's just a very minor complaint. It's a very, very simplistic build, but I don't know, I think it works, and just adds a little extra to the set to help kind of create a full scene and create a place for the other minifigures not participating in the task to be there. So, now let's go look at those minifigures. So there are 4 figures in this set. We're going to start off by looking at Harry individually. This is kind of the style of his fourth year figures. In every single 4th year set, though, he is wearing a slightly different outfit. This one is the dragon task, obviously. He has this large accessory, which is the reason we're looking at him separately. It's just a black broom with then a little bit built up. This sadly isn't too stable. Tends to spin around a lot. And that's meant to kind of represent, the footrest that they would have on the brooms. Just straddle there and then kind of rest your feet on there. Obviously the figure can't really use it because it can't straddle properly. But you can kind of put it on there in a way that suggests it. Which I'll show you probably in just a second if I remember. Then, of course, has the dark brown wand piece like Harry always uses. Then he has the mid-sized legs, as in the 3rd and 4th year sets they have mid-sized legs. They're not quite as tall as an adult, but they aren't as short as they were in the 1st or 2nd year either, when they had just the regular, short child legs. And also 4th year Harry has a new hairpiece here, which definitely fits the kind of shaggy hair that he has in the 4th year, where it's really, really long for some reason. I think it's really funny there. Then, of course, face print there, and then slightly different one there. None of them are too crazy. Obviously, just, kind of like mild anger, maybe concentrating, kind of up for interpretation. And then just, small little smiles, nothing too extreme. I like when they include faces like that on figures instead of just, 2 very extreme, different expressions. It's great when there's just subtlety, so that way they can be used more, I feel. And then the torso print is pretty good. The dark red printing on there is really, really crisp. I expected it to be kind of light. And there's a little Hogwarts logo there, which, as you can see, is printed in metallic gold. It kind of reflects off there. And then the printer on the back is pretty cool as well. Kind of, continuing the little accents of dark red, kind of near where the black line stopped, and then little hood printed on there, as well as Potter on the back, which I think looks pretty cool. And then, just some pretty standard gray lines running throughout the whole thing, in order to, add some detailing, kind of creasing, as well as the kind of little silver holes where the straps across the front go in. Overall, I think Harry here is a pretty cool figure, but definitely not the best out of all 4 in the set. So now let's go look at the other 3. So from left to right, the 3 other minifigures, as well as 3 other Triwizard champions, we have Cedric Diggory, Victor Crumb, and Fleur Delacour. We'll start by looking at Cedric here, who I think is a pretty good minifigure, as well as a nice variation from the one that came in the series minifigure series, by having him have the cloak on over as well, kind of being slightly different, as well as, the fact that the outfit he was wearing during the Dragon Challenge, I believe, was slightly different than what he ended up wearing in the final challenge, as well as graveyard scene. Just comes with the light brown wand piece. Bit of printing along the legs to just kind of continue the robe pattern. Nothing too crazy there. And then the torso printing is nothing crazy, but it works well. Just kind of having the yellow shirt underneath and the little yellow accents on the robes, as well as the little Hogwarts logo printed in metallic gold. A few gray accents. And then on the back, he has the hood. And similar to Harry, has Diggory printed on it. This one's slightly covered by the hood, though, which I think is a nice touch, just to, add some variation. It feels more realistic to have it be kind of, not perfect on there. And then I really like the hairpiece choice for him. I'm not exactly sure what all that's been used for in the past. I think it was first introduced with the dog trainer in one of the CMF series, maybe Series 16, 16 or 17, something like that, one of those series. Except in light brown here. I believe they've used it on a few other minifigures. This head print isn't exclusive. It's used on Han Solo, a few versions of him, as well as I think another figure. I think it works well and captures Cedric pretty well enough. And now let's move on to Crumb here, who I definitely think is a slightly more unique minifigure. I really like the torso print. Once again, nothing, too crazy detailed or amazing, but it's effective and it gets, what they're trying to get across. And it makes sense that none of these have too crazy printing on them, considering, their outfits aren't too complex. They're fairly simplistic. Just has the Durmstrang logo there, as well as, the hood on the back of the jacket. I could have done with a few more, creases along the sides there. And then also he has the one dark orange, and he's the first character besides Newt Scamander to have it in dark orange. So that's pretty neat. I'm a bit conflicted about it because I think it would have been better if they just, gave him like a black wand. I haven't done a bunch of research and looked at what his wand looks like, to verify that it's not, that this color isn't perfect for it. But I think it would just work better if they gave him black, because I don't know, I feel like it would have made sense with who he is and kind of his personality, as well as kind of the fact that he comes from a school where dark arts rules aren't as forcefully kept up. And I think the black would have looked better, as well as kept Newt Scamander feel a bit better, more exclusive. I think the hairpiece works well. Then the face print, the expressions are great. There's kind of his angry one, and then just a slight smile. I don't think this one really fits Crumb at all, but this one's perfect for him. But then my one problem with both of the facial expressions is where's kind of the little goatee that he has, the little bit of stubble along there. This is just a reused face print from, I believe, one of the characters from the Tron sets, the LEGO Ideas Tron set, but it doesn't work. I think they should have either done the same face print but modified it, or just given him a new face print. So now let's move on to Fleur here, who I think is one of the coolest figures in this set. As you can see, the printing along the torso is more complex than the other ones, being slightly metallic gold there with all the little lines going through, which unless you have the light shining on it right, you get the correct angle, it's really hard to see. Just some little detailing there, as well as a bit of gold along the side. And I don't know, I think the printing there looks really cool. On the back, it's pretty amazing as well, with the large Beauxbatons logo there. And once again, all the metallic gold. She then uses the dark tan wand, which is one of the most common colors for it. And then her hair here is just the blonde ponytail, which I don't think is quite the right choice. Her hair, I feel, is the slightest bit longer. They should have gone with maybe one of the longer ponytail pieces, or made a new piece. I think this works well enough, though, but there really isn't any piece that perfectly captures it. I think it should be a bit longer. And then her head is just a reuse of Ellie Sattler's head. So it's not like it's one of those pieces that's been used super commonly over and over and over again. I think the expressions work. They're not too great, but they work. So if we just put the hair back on there, there we go. That's the other 3 minifigures in the set, which I all think are pretty good figures. So overall, I really like this set, and I just like the Harry Potter line in general, and this fits with kind of the style that they always have, where it's focusing more on looking good and being detailed than throwing in a lot of play features like some of the other sets do. So that's kind of why I really like the Harry Potter line, because they're all great display pieces. The little side build of the tent here is useful enough. And then the Hungarian Horntail build I think looks pretty cool, though I do have some slight complaints about it. And then just a nice little side build there to hold the golden egg and kind of create atmosphere, as well as all 4 minifigures being pretty good. Few iffy headpiece choices on it, but overall nothing too bad. So I'd highly recommend this set. Out of the 3 Harry Potter sets I own so far, I'm saying this is probably one of my favorites of them. Out of 3 of this wave, more so I should say. I think it's better than some of the other sets from the previous wave, so I'd highly recommend this set for any LEGO Harry Potter fans. But that's all for me for now, and bye.